G'day, mate.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Ho, ho, ho.
We did the Christmas thing. Hats. Yours doesn't quite fit on your head. Probably mine's tight as. Are these kids' hats?
I don't know. Well, probably. I mean, Christmas is about the children, mate.
What is this animal, by the way? I've been looking at it for a while.
That was knitted by my mother. Do you want to take that back?
No, I don't know what the animal is. That's all. I'm sure it's Jan's a saint. So.
It's a Christmas. It's our Christmas animal.
Okay.
Talking about Christmas, you blew my mind this week.
Regularly, but yes.
I was like, mate, we're gonna release something for Christmas because people don't just stop listening to podcasts because it's Christmas time. In fact, probably listen more.
They're off work,
driving around.
Yep.
What can we do? What can we do this Christmas related? Like, oh man, like Santa's probably taken. Can't do him. I'm struggling for other things to do with Christmas. Really, like I was about Santa, and that was about it.
Yep.
And then you blew my mind. What did you say to me? I don't want to
take full credit for this because you'd thrown around some names like, who should we chat to over the break?
Yeah.
You said, what a Masto might be around. I could.
Great, mate. Like, I want to say, like, Chris Masten, one of my best mates. Known him for 15 years. We'll know him for a lot longer. And
used to 15 more, eh? Is that what you wrote on your birthday card?
I just wanted to talk to him.
Yeah.
Right? Whether or not it'd be at Christmas time or not.
Yeah.
We wanted a Christmas special.
Yeah. So I said, why don't we go Christmas special?
Please say it again.
Chris Masten. And you, for about 45 minutes while I'm on the phone, just kept going, wouldn't make sense.
Chris Masten's name is Christmas. I'm sorry. If you hadn't quite figured out what Dan was saying.
Yeah.
Chris Masten's name is Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas.
If that doesn't blow anyone else's mind, I'll just fuck right off. Because, seriously, Chris Masten.
Yeah, Christmas.
Chris Masten special coming up for you. Little shout out and a little Merry Christmas to all our Patreons.
Yeah.
It's been growing and I don't know. I just want to say I love you. Yeah. Love your patrons.
Helps us make a lot of good stuff.
It does, and we appreciate it. We've loved all the interactions this year. This isn't going to be the last podcast. We're not going to have a break over Christmas, but this is the Christmas special. If you want to get in touch with us, you can reach out hello@backchatpodcast.com.au. Instagram's BackChat Podcast, BackChat_podcast. Twitter, just hit me up on Twitter. I keep saying the BackChat one, but no one looks at it. Just hit me up.
Look, save time. Just go to the website, backchatpodcast.com.au.
That's it.
It's all there.
I reckon we just get straight into it. Christmas special with Chris Masten. Like, jeez, it's bloody good.
We've got the hats. We've got goat. I don't know. Something here. Let's talk to Chris.
The Christmas goat. All right, Masto's in the house. G'day, Masto. How are you?
Boys.
Did you like that intro?
Yeah, it's amazing intros. It's been
well, Chris Masten, premiership player in the end, over 200 games for West Coast. If you're a fan of West Coast or the AFL, you probably know his story a little bit. And you're one of my very good mates. Could be best mate. Didn't make it into your wedding party.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword there, though. You started it, and then I had to follow through.
So we would call each other probably best mates, and neither of us were in each other's wedding parties.
So you got married first, didn't put him in yours.
Yep.
Then he retaliated.
Yeah.
Desperately wanted you in it, but thought, nah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I was scraping for a fifth as well.
So here we go. A couple of best mates going at it, and Dan.
Yep.
You can be a third mate. Good?
Sure, whatever you want.
All right, good. Mate, we ask all the athletes that have been on here before you and that will continue to be on after you a very important question to start the podcast. We all know about your football prowess. Like, we know you're a good football player. Great. Who cares?
Big whoop.
Like,
We've all played footy.
Yeah, and look, Dan's done some great things on the sporting field as well, which we can touch on if needed. But what was your greatest sporting achievement not on the football field?
There's not too many, to be honest.
Really?
Oh,
You're a talented man.
I got 2 red cards in a cricket match. Like one and only cricket match I ever played.
I didn't even know they gave out cards in cricket.
I got sent off. So I got sent off twice, though, I'm pretty sure. Like, sent off and then sent off again as I was walking off.
Why?
I was sledging pretty hard, so that was... I just loved it. I wasn't in the team for batting. I wasn't in the team for bowling, because I'm not really good at either of those things, but I could
Sledge.
I can sledge
So you
pretty hard.
used to feel close to the batsman.
Yeah, like right in around. I got a little bit too excited when we got this one guy out. I'll never forget CBC at Fremantle as well. We didn't like them for some reason. Had a good red hot crack and sent him off a little bit too hard. So then I got sent off with him, and then I may have given the umpire.
Is that similar to your indoor netball story?
No, mine
Red
was
carded?
more of a discussion after the game was finished.
With Gwen or
A
Dora?
discussion.
No, it was I've forgotten her name, Margaret or something. She was a very old lady, and I just asked for her name, which I've forgotten, which shows But I retired from that team after 2 games. She thought I was being nasty, but that's a netball. That's a netball umpire.
That's how it goes. Athletics. You were from an athletics background before you got drafted. You were a runner.
Yeah, probably if you want to go actual sporting achievement, it would be in athletic. Well, running. Yeah.
Which was what?
I definitely did used to have. I don't know if it's been beaten yet, but I have an Australian record for the 800 metres under 14s. I'm gonna say.
Oh,
13s,
no.
So that's
14s.
better than yours.
Oh, that's better than mine.
What's with 800 metres and footy players?
I don't know. Ask him. He's obviously better than me. Australian record, 800 metres. Wow,
Underage, but yes. I think it's footy. Hey, like you needed a little bit of pace, but you needed a lot of endurance.
What, do you
Kind of
remember
the
your
same
time?
for footy. Hey,
Remember your time? Your 800 time?
I think it was
So slow.
201 something, but I was 14.
We
13 or 14.
we chatted to Peter Bowl and we talked about the 2-minute mark. Well, see, Masto didn't quite get under.
I did after that.
Yeah, I know.
We're going to get into that.
Okay. All right. Well, if anyone's listening and can
Peter Bowl, though.
yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
big fan of
We-
Peter Bowl.
Yeah, don't worry. It was a great interview. I'm sure you've listened to it already because we had that last week, Peter Bowl. Yeah, we did. All right, so you're a high draft pick to West Coast. You were. I actually remember playing against you as an underage Western Australian footballer, and before we played you, there was a bunch of midfielders playing in the under-16s competition that said that there was some misbehaving midfielders in the Western Australian team. Carrying on a little bit too much, probably similar to your cricket story, actually.
Yeah.
You're a high-achieving young player. Coming towards that draft, did you have an expectation you would be high? And if you did you think you were going to stay in WA?
Yeah, I thought I was going to get drafted reasonably high. I didn't think I'd stay in WA. I was kind of planning that I wasn't. So
Freo had a pick after West Coast, so you were pick 3. Freo had pick 7.
Yep.
So you were a chance.
yeah, I just didn't. It didn't feel like that at the time. It didn't feel like we were going to stay at home. And when the AFL actually asked me to come to the draft, which they did, which was in Melbourne at the time. I don't know what the hell they do now, but I refused. So I said, I'm not going. And they were like, what do you mean? I said, no, I'm staying at home. I'm staying home with my mates and I'm going to have a party. I'm going to end up in Metros, which I did. They basically forced me to go. And I had, pretty much as soon as I got drafted, I had to take a couple photos and jump in the car and go to the airport so they could get me home in time. That was the only reason I said I'd go.
To get home to the boys.
To get home to the boys and say goodbye. But then I didn't have to say goodbye.
What's this carry on the footy field? So you've obviously gotten thrown off the field on cricket, and I've seen.
Oh yeah, but that was it was light-hearted, that one. Kind
I've
of.
seen you play. Well, I haven't seen you play, but I've seen photos that you've played like casual basketball as well.
Yeah,
I imagine you probably
that was good fun.
You get a bit chipper on the field.
Not really. I'm really bad at these other sports, so I kind of had to make up with something. And this was in high school. I was just like, I've grown up a lot since high school.
I saw photos of you playing at like Loftus on a Monday night or something.
I actually reckon you two would be quite similar basketball standard. Poor.
Yeah,
I know you're poor, and I can just see you.
I'd like to think I can run around, but I make up for it in calling someone names and
Yeah. I've got you. Yeah, I'm with you.
All right, so you get drafted at number 3, which this has been a big talking point throughout your whole career. You're in the Chris Judd trade. Your pick was acquired due to Chris Judd being traded away from the football club. At the time, was that a big deal? And then throughout your career, that constantly being referred to. What are your thoughts on that?
At the time, no, because like coming from where I'd come from and the way I grew up and the way my football was going, I really didn't care. Like I was pretty confident. I was arrogant.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I didn't care at all. Like it didn't bother me at all. But then it gets referred to and I had a lot of injuries early days. the first few years, and then those comments start to take a little bit of a toll. And then they did, and then growing up had to happen. Became a man probably, or on the way to becoming a man, and then it didn't matter again. So yeah, it was a bit of a cycle.
Well, what do you mean they took a toll? So as your form would come in and out, or injuries, or
it was probably the start of social media though as well. So you had the outside pressure from papers and stuff, which it kind of was back then. But then social media, and people were able to tell you how shit you were. And yeah, those expectations that you had for yourself when you first got drafted weren't being met internally, and then you're getting told about it as well. And then you got the Chris Judd thing, probably. Now that I think about it, probably definitely had an impact.
What was that like early social media days then? Because now, like, it's so flooded with people's opinions, you can sort of just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Gets lost in it a bit. But early days.
Yeah, it was brutal, man. I actually, one of the worst things was at Subiaco Oval, when our bench was, you were pretty much in the crowd.
Yeah.
And it was all the West Coast members. I remember some of the sprays that I got from West Coast members when I was like 19. Like from old women, like just being like, oh, what? Like, how can you say that? But it's pretty fun now. Like, I mean, social media is ridiculous because it's not even real anymore. But yeah, two different sort of things.
Well, yeah, it is. I had that question a bit further on, but like your relationship with fans. So you speak about that at early days, getting abuse from the crowd as a 19-year-old. Which, look, I mean, in hindsight, it seems a little unfair. Going on and winning a premiership at the end of your career, do you look back on it with a bit of a sucked in kind of, or is it just water off a duck's back eventually along the journey? Was that a motivator for you? Like,
it wasn't a motivator. It's nice now. Like, don't get me wrong, it is nice now to have chats and have that in your back pocket, because it could be very easy for people to have a crack at. Not that I really give a shit, but at least I've got that in the back pocket. Like, whatever. Like, I don't care. Yes. I got to win a flag, and you didn't. Most of you didn't.
Still remember Jan and Barbara behind the.
Yeah, I remember Jan giving it to me.
It's interesting you talk about motivations and I guess like driving factors. You're probably up there with top 3 hardest working players I've ever played with, and. Were you ever defeated in a 2K time trial?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
By who? And
Josh Smith beat me in the last one we ever did.
So the only one you ever lost?
Nah, Timmy Hills beat me one but that was like, I think that was first or second year.
So yeah, expectations of you as a high draft pick, Chris Judd trade. They expect you to. I don't know if they expect you to be Chris Judd fans, but then. You being able to equate that to work rate and, your running ability was high level, like proper high level for your whole career.
Yep.
Where does that sit with it all? Like, how do you differentiate fans giving you shit on social media, telling you how bad you are when you don't play well or you're injured or whatever, to being able to go and, yeah, I've travelled with you a lot in off season, being able to get to work and work hard and back to back 2K time trial specialist.
Yeah, I suppose you always have that in the back of your head that if you've come off a bad year, for me anyway, the way I am, if I like to have a beer off the field, no matter if that would be during the year or not, pre-season or not, off-season or not. So I'm gonna fucking earn my beer though. When I was playing, not so much now, couldn't really care. Yeah, but when you were playing, I felt like you needed to earn it, and I was good at running, but I would work really hard at it as well.
What was that balance between having a beer and training hard? Because you did both as well, as I've seen probably across the journey. Well, there's a balance though, right?
There's a definite balance, but
you've seen everyone across the spectrum. You've seen everyone at train hard and train hard. That's it.
Yep.
Footy's your life. And you've seen guys that get spat out in about 5 seconds because they can't work hard and they want to have too many beers. I think you had a pretty good balance. Can you reflect on that?
Well, yeah, like you kind of said, you see those dudes that do everything right, dot every I, cross their T's, don't go to bed at 7:30 at night and blah, 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 do all those things, which is great. Good on them. That wasn't me. I'm not built that way, and that's what footy is. You've got 45 people on a list. Some people are going to be like that. Some are going to be like me, and you can't do that. So I needed to wear my ass off, so I felt like I could have a beer.
What was like you? Tell me what sort of player were you? I'm trying my best to sort of...
You mean off the field?
Oh, everything, mate. What sort of teammate were you?
I'm a go hard. I love hard. I enjoy hard. I don't know. I enjoy fun.
You're hard.
Yeah, no, I'm not that hard, but work hard off on and off the field, you know. But it's just I had fun, and it was good, honest fun a lot of the time. But yeah, I think that kind of sums you up. I'm pretty easygoing.
Does that ever come up in coaching or front office stuff? Like, is it basically like let you as long as you're performing, results coming out? I
think it's fair to say though, before you answer that, Mass, it's not like Mass do whatever he wants off the field.
Of course. But there would be players that obviously coaching staff would be aware of, and they just know that they don't have to worry about them. Others are like, maybe we should keep an eye. Like, I don't know.
100%. There's moments though, like parts in your career where there's different sort of opinions. Like early days, no, you've been an idiot, like earn your stripes, which I definitely probably was. Like I got arrested fucking within 6 months of being on the footy club, which is not a good start. And that's what I was saying. I had to have some growing up. So early days, no. And that's right, you do need to get runs on the board. That middle period and definitely towards the end, you were looked at a little bit different because you would come and hurt yourself. And it wasn't like going out till 6 a.m. every night. It was like your Saturday afternoon, we'd definitely have a few beers. And I'd carry on and I'd make sure everyone knew I was having a couple of beers. I wasn't trying. I was trying to bring everyone with me. But yeah, do you know what I mean? So you definitely change the opinion as you get older.
Like they're getting arrested early days of the club. You can go into detail as much as you like or as little as you like. But what was that like from a learning experience and growing? Like, did you feel like that kicked your ass a little bit?
Yeah, hard, man. It was brutal. I don't remember much from like playing early days or anything, but I never forget being on the phone to Nizzy and just coughing, sitting outside my mum's house, like 18-year-old kid, just getting an absolute earful, which was well deserved, by the way. I'd actually get arrested. I got a move on notice, so it wasn't that bad. I think it was in the paper and made it sound a little bit worse than it actually was, but still, probably bad timing.
It's not the ideal timing. 2007, Chris got drafted, so it was right in the period where the club was going through a few things on and off the field. All right, so getting on to, I guess, your career and moving through it a little bit, you played over 200 games and you're a life member of the club. You've won a wooden spoon. You've won a premiership. You've done a fair bit along the journey. Never been in a leadership group?
Nah.
What do you?
I was an emerging leader for like 8 years.
What do you? This is along the same thoughts as sort of how we've been speaking. You can have a laugh with the best of them, but I am asking some serious questions. Leadership groups. Why weren't you in one? And what are your thoughts on leadership groups?
I think there's probably a number of factors. The reason yourself and I probably weren't in one.
Yeah, it's important to note I was not a leadership group member either.
I think that probably wasn't big enough of a star, probably to start off with, which is complete opposite of what a leadership group probably is. But then also probably that early day shit for me personally, when it took its toll. Like I did carry on a little bit with getting arrested, and I like to have a beer, and it took a while for that tune to sort of change, or that opinion of that I
Perception.
had. Perception, that's a good word.
Yeah.
To change, I think within the playing group, it was always pretty, like, really solid. Just how the people outside of the playing group and the decision makers saw it, probably,
Yeah, took you a while to get into it.
Yeah, I imagine though that amongst the players, there would be players within that even though they're not in the leadership group, they'd be seen as
flat out, man. Everyone's got them. Like the leadership group could only be so big, and I think definitely towards the end of my career and your career, I think kind of there was leaders everywhere, like absolutely everywhere. The leadership group was only 5 or 6 people at that stage, maybe a little bit more, but there was leaders out in the field more than just that leadership group, flat out.
When you talk about leadership, it's exactly right with Mass. I wasn't in a leadership group either, and it's kind of funny looking back on it because there's different forms of leadership, and I'll talk to you about what makes a good team and team culture, and because you can't have 22 going out there that are all rock stars of the game. You need a balance, and in the best teams, that's what it was. There was a balance between guys. But yeah, Masten and I are probably cut from the same cloth a little bit with that leadership aspect. I think there's different types of leadership as well. You always led footy trips quite well. You're a contributor in fines for probably the last decade of your career, which was good. What about changing your number, shifting it up a little bit?
Yeah.
You were given number 13 by the footy club, is that right?
Yep.
And you made a change. Talk me through that process. And
yeah, 13 is like pretty much my favourite number as well. And then
wow.
Chad Fletcher he was an older player. He was probably the last couple of years. It was definitely his last 2 years of his career. And he just kind of sort of took me under his wing. I was the same size as him. He was a bit of a larrikin. I was a bit of a larrikin. We liked each other. And, it's pretty rare for an old player. He was in his 30s for an 31-year-old, 32-year-old and an 18-year-old to sort of click because it's fucking hard. Like, you're worlds apart. But we didn't. So when he left, he asked if I wanted to wear number 7 and I had to. I'm glad I did.
I actually wrote that question not remembering the answer. I thought he upgraded from 13 to 7, just 6 numbers up the board. But that's a genuinely nice story about Chatty Fletcher.
That's pretty good. I actually saw this week, I saw on Reddit that the club at West Coast, like a photo was leaked of everyone's names next to their numbers at the training pitch. And it was like, it was this big thing.
Numbers.
Yeah, numbers are leaked. Like, was that even a thing for you guys? I don't know. It just seems like I just don't care enough.
What was it?
Like the new players at the club, they haven't announced the numbers yet on socials,
okay,
but they leaked the numbers.
Yeah, there's just a photo of like a scoreboard and it had their names next to their numbers. And like, it was like, oh my gosh, it was leaked.
Really?
Were numbers important? Not really. Like, I had the same number the whole time, and I wanted that number because it didn't have anyone. You get your name on the locker after 100 games, and if you win a flag. So it didn't have anyone on it, so I wanted that as my locker.
That's dope. You're the only one.
Yeah, Mitch White actually won a flag in it, but swapped out of it. He won the 92 flag and then swapped to. He was down around you as well, but actually he does have his name on there, but that's why I wanted 31. There is some politics behind it though. Like, they're the best ones when someone gives a number to us.
Everyone wants a low single digit number. All those young kids.
Anyone who says anyone they say that doesn't probably can't get one. Probably not good enough to get one.
Yeah, so
like I always say, I never wanted a low number, but probably not good enough to be given a low number.
50 the highest you can get?
Yeah, Ryan Turnbull was
51, wasn't he? Or he's 50.
No, he was 50.
I'd love to get a big heavy number. I was
99.
I was 62 at Eastern Mountain when I was a kid playing league, and then my training jumper at Perth when I played 5 games in 2 years is 69. I'm a big fan of that number.
Wow, that's impressive.
I don't think they'll let the 69 go by this.
While we're talking numbers, and again, please fact check me, listeners and watchers. I believe you're in the top 10 players of all time, kilometres travelled.
I think I was
to play games of football.
You told me that though. Did you make that one up? You told me that.
I'm sure I've read it somewhere. I was sure the first time I told you. I'm sure now. I think when Shannon Hearn played his record-breaking game for West Coast, they had a table of players. Pavlich was the only Freo player, and you were in there with Cox, Hearn, potentially Embley, some big game-playing guys. What sort of effect do you reckon that took on your career? Would you play more? What was travel to you as a player? Did you like it? Did you hate it?
Early days, I used to like it when we were kids, it was great because we used to stay over. Like, it didn't matter if we played during the day, we'd stay over. And that was fun, early days.
Yeah.
Just exploring other cities and
be like the Chapel Street.
Yeah, whatever that joint was called. And we just did fun stuff after games and it was allowed and it wasn't frowned upon. It was just like kind of what you did early days and you got to explore, which is awesome for a kid. And then as you get older, it just starts to suck. You start to hate it. Like, dreading it every second week. Make sure you had enough shit downloaded on your laptop to watch because you know how bored you're going to be. And then getting away, and then you have kids. Those last couple of years in not that you didn't want to get away from the missus and the kid because you wanted to have a sleep, but then you also copped on the phone for how little she was sleeping, you know. So
you had to pick your TV shows really carefully as well because you couldn't be watching something you could watch at home with.
Yeah, true.
The missus.
Then that as well.
You had to have your shows as a couple, and then your shows for plane flights.
What are the is there like a sort of a rule when you're on a team flight where people aren't talking to one another? Like, are you trying to all just get your own space, or like, you know, because you see in the NBA, like, I mean, they're taking private jets and stuff, but like, everyone's playing cards, they're gambling. Like, is there a bit of that, or is it basically like flights and then?
No, you did. You kind of had your boys over there playing on their shit card games that are boring as hell, and like, you honestly, I wouldn't want to play one round of those vlogs. And then like you'd have your little section on the plane where it was your boys, but it wasn't like that. It wasn't segregated or anything. It was just like, that's what those boys like to do. I don't like to do that. I'd like to stand over here and talk about the universe with TB and just laugh at him and, like, you know what I mean? So
did
there was your spots.
I mean, you've always joked at the time I've known you as being not medicated, diagnosed.
I was unmedicated for a long time.
Yeah, but not diagnosed ADD.
ADHD.
ADHD.
Yep.
And you've joked about it a lot.
Well, that's the wine that I just kicked over.
That doesn't surprise me whatsoever.
That's cute.
There you go. Perfect. Great.
Great.
You're actually working in wine. We might talk about that in a little bit. Thank you for
that's-
bringing this along with us. Are you going to pour me down a little bit more, or
You've
just
already
yourself?
got- it's clear.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Perfect.
you've got some.
Yeah, an undiagnosed ADHD who finds it hard to focus and finds it hard not to knock things
It's
over.
perfect time of kicking something.
Was it real, or is it something you joke about?
No,
Is it something you've
you know too well that it's real.
listeners?
It was Rod Moore who actually told me, like, I kind of, you know, I'm a bit all over the place a little bit. Rod Moore, our first doctor. There's actually a few funny stories about Rod.
Please don't. Just keep going.
Yeah, anyway, he said he had ADD, but then, you know, we weren't allowed to be medicated anyway because it's this substance that the medication you use is a banned substance. But we did all the testing towards the end of my career to be able to get onto this medication when I'd finished. And it was pretty rigorous. Like, it's like months and months and months of testing. And basically the end result was like one of the highest ADHDs they'd seen.
What does it mean? And how does it affect?
Well, attention deficit disorder is ADD, but then I have the hyperactivity as well, where I just want to do shit and fiddle, and, like, you know how I play with shit. And
You're actually doing really well.
If I've got a pen in my hand, like,
the whole sheet will be covered in.
Yeah. And like, I don't even know I'm doing it, kind of thing. But anyway.
How did that affect your footy? Or
Didn't really affect me. Team meetings and shit. That's why I used to lay on the floor in the fucking whatever that's called, the
lecture
meeting
theatre.
room. Because if I sat down, I would just distract myself and everyone else, and I was in the front as well, so I needed to lay on the floor. Otherwise,
Was it potential that it was a positive? Like, it's high functioning, right? Like,
it's high functioning for sure. And that was why they didn't want to medicate, like, even get an exemption to medicate me, is because you're training as well. So, like, you're burning all that excess energy. So, yeah, it worked in my favour, I reckon. But
So it sort of go with your energy levels. Like, after a game, you're less fidgety, or
for sure, definitely. But it has its downfalls as well, being unmedicated, especially when you have a few beers, and then just because it's the way your serotonin and dopamine stuff in your brain works is just completely out of whack. So you tend to lose your shit a little bit.
Yeah, well, we all know about it, so we can look after you now when you have beers. Which we probably
medicated now, so it's much better.
Yeah, good. Can you tell a story, talking about fidgeting and struggling to focus and being stuck in rooms? Can you talk about playing under John Worsfold and meetings under Woosha, whether or not you could leave if you wanted to, I don't know, perhaps go to the toilet?
I think I know where you're going with that. So I have a condition now where I don't know if it has a name or anything, but it is, I think I've ruined my bladder. Yeah, I've ruined my bladder. Well, John Worsfold ruined it.
We're going to do well to get through this interview without him having to have a wee. And why?
Well, the reason is, so Woosha, no, you didn't. He was terrifying. He was a terrifying man. And 2010, I reckon we finished last, and we got spray, and I sit in the front row. So Woosha's like, you know, where that footy is, giving us a spray, and I rushing to beat, because if you were with Woosha, if you were 5 minutes early to a meeting, like, you were fucking late. Like, it was terrifying, especially if you lost.
Terrifying.
So I rushed from the gym, and I'd already needed to have a piss. He's like, can't be like, come back. Sat down. Woosha starts his rant, doing whatever he's doing. He didn't really rant, but he just talked sternly.
And usually they'd be over in like 20
Usually
minutes.
they were. So it was like, that was the thing. It was like, all right, sweet, we'll be fine. Anyway, he's gone on one this day. Like, he's decided, nah,
Enough's enough.
Yeah, I'm giving it to the boys. And I'm sitting next to Suma. I was assistant coach at the time. And I got like half an hour into this thing, and I'm like, whoosh, like I'm sweating. Like I'm just like terrified as well. But like I'm in so much pain. I'm like, Suma, can I leave, man, and just quickly go for a piss? He's like, I wouldn't move, mate. If I was you, I just would not move. So
If you value your spot on the team and actually on this roster, I wouldn't be going for a wee.
So I didn't. And he went for like another 45 minutes.
Oh
Something,
my
mate.
gosh.
It went forever. And by the time it finished, like it hadn't got any more painful, but it was just the prolonged pain. But I could barely walk to the toilet afterwards. And then like the anticipation of me actually doing the piss, like it, you think it'd come straight out. It didn't. It was like, you really had to like force it because I'd been holding it in for so long. So now, I have to piss all the time. This is very, and you've seen it in some bad
I just
places.
think it's incredible after a career like that. You could probably send John Worsfold a medical bill for your bladder.
I wonder if that's like even possible or if it's just a mental thing. Maybe it's just a mental
Let us know if you're listening.
How close were you to just going, you know what, I'm just going to piss my pants? Did that cross your
If
mind?
I wasn't sitting next to Suma, like if I was sitting in the back of the lecture theatre and I wasn't in the front row, like I probably would have.
Did you used to wee in team huddles? That was a thing I never used to do, but yeah, I knew.
I have.
Some players in the AFL, specifically West Coast, would before every game we'd go out and warm up. So you'd have pre-game warm up. So you'd warm up downstairs, come up upstairs to a warm up, and you would get in a huddle. The captain goes and tosses the coin.
Yep.
Fans and anyone watching would just think the players are standing in a huddle.
Or doing hip flex the stretch.
Waiting for the captain to come back.
Yep.
If you look carefully, most AFL teams, there'll be a couple of guys in the middle of that huddle doing a hip flex stretch, and they are in fact weeing, Dan. That is what they're doing.
How have I not seen it? Like, surely
Yeah,
cameras.
it's
Do
happening.
you think? I would say there was a stage where
Oh, so is that when you?
There was a stage in like 2012. I reckon it was around that era. Hey, like 20.
there'd be 2 or 3 people every game.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it happens anymore. I'm trying to think back to late in my career.
It was definitely that like little. Yeah.
It was like waiting for the siren to go. So maybe you're just not watching. Maybe you're just seeing a big group of players. You're not watching for that. But maybe you should
rushing
keep
back
your
to
eyes
seat
up.
with beers or something.
Was that ever you? I reckon it would have been. How would it have to
I
have
had done it. I have, but not. I wasn't like our mate Chuffy Cheaters. But I wasn't
Sam
like
Butler. Sam
I
Butler
wasn't
was a
Sam
chronic.
Butler.
Or you should have asked him. Every game ever played with Butsy.
Every
Used to piss in the
single
middle of it.
Which wasn't too many. It'd be like one and then
How
like
do you
10
feel?
off because you'd been in.
Dan's a real rule-abiding citizen. He is. He ticks every box. How do you feel about that?
Oh no, like I'm probably.
How does that make you feel? You are disgusted.
No. I'm okay, 'cause I'm a bit like Chris in that my bladder, like after especially like 2 beers, you'll see me in the bathroom every 7 minutes.
Yeah.
But like, isn't
So
that?
if you have to go, just go. I'm okay with you're in the.
But it was
grass.
more for Butts. It was like his thing. He didn't even need to piss half the time. He just.
I just remembered. So my wife Alex used to sit behind the stands, right behind the players
that's
thing, and
stupid
used to always hear someone yelling, "Piss cup, get me a piss cup, get me a piss cup." So if you don't do a wee in the middle of the huddle,
You have to have a piss cup. Yeah.
do a wee with a towel.
I've
over
done
you.
many pisses in a piss cup.
Anyway, that's our little segment on bladder strength in the AFL, and the things you learn on BackChat. Getting back to you, Masto, as a footy player, how did your role change over the journey? You came out of the juniors as a ball accumulating midfielder that played pure mid.
Yep.
Across your time from 2007 through to 2019, how did the role change?
Massively. Under Wisher, I was kind of encouraged to be that ball winner and player and learn off Curry and learn off Fletcher and all those older boys, and I played in the midfield. With the injuries, probably the only time the only season I played probably a full season in the midfield was the last one that Wisher had, which was 2013.
Was it a good season for you?
I had probably averaged the most disposals, but I wouldn't say it was my best year. And we played shit as a team. I think we only won maybe 8 or 9 games that year. Wisher got the sack. And then Simo came on board, and then that's pretty much when it changed. And you know what? Like, to be fair, he was bang on. Like, I wasn't big enough I wasn't getting any stronger and bigger. There was Nat Fives and the big boys going through the midfield in that day, those terms, and Paddy Cripps was just burst on the scene, stuff like that. I couldn't play midfield, and he saw that, so he kind of changed me, put me out on a wing. And then it wasn't till probably 2018, 17, I'm in and out of the team, nowhere near it. And
Why?
Confidence was a bit shot. Role wasn't defined at all. The team was pretty up and down as well, and I was kind of the easy one to get asked.
Yep.
2018 come around, Mitch is coaching.
Who?
Sam Mitchell.
Yep.
And then he kind of made a roll up for me. Me and him which is weird. You wouldn't think Sam and I would, if you think about the type of people that we are, you'd think we would not be close, but we are very. So that was cool, and he kind of made this roll up for me.
What was the conversation he had with you around at that time? From memory, you were in the gym quite a lot. You were trying to put weight on. You were trying to get bigger. You weren't big enough to play against the Crippses, the Fifes, the big guys rolling through the midfield. What was the conversation you had with Mitch?
Yeah, he saw me doing all this like extra weights and stuff afterwards, and busting my gut, and I wasn't getting anywhere either. And he was like, he just basically said something. I can't remember what the words were, but he's like, "Why are you wasting so much time on that?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "What's your strength?" I was like, well, "Probably my running." He's like, "So work on that or get better on that. Like, you're not going to get, you're not going to just be massive. You're not going to grow to 6'3". Like, just do what you're good at." Like, and it was so simple, and it was such a simple change in mindset to smashing myself over this one little aspect because I wanted to play midfield or whatever. To, oh, you know what? Like, I can do that very better than most. So just do that, and that's your strength. So simple, but we didn't have that with Wisha. We didn't really have that. I didn't really have that relationship with Simo until sort of Mitch rocked up, and that was probably 2017 when he said that to me when he was playing with us.
And talk about Sam Mitchell. So I had something that got into mainstream media, which is always fun. Talking about Sam Mitchell as, I did say, the best coach I've ever played under, which I stand by. I think he is. Where would you?
I agree with you, man. I flat out
Sam
agree with
Mitchell.
you. I think he's the best coach that I've had. And that's not saying Simo's a shit coach or anything. I'm just saying Sam Mitchell was a star. Like, for me anyway, he got to be able to communicate a message to 45 different personalities the way that Sam Mitchell does, but then have the foresight and the game knowledge that he does, and the smarts. It's just rare. And we've been around a lot of coaches, and a lot of good footy heads, but that's the best one that I had to spend any time with, for sure.
So, yeah.
Do you think that's partly because he went pretty quickly from playing to coaching and sort of made that transition pretty quick?
I reckon like that. The game does change so quickly, but it's also Mitch, man. He's just that type of personality where he's not afraid to stand up for kind of what he believes in, and he believes in people as well as the structure, and if that makes sense. Like, he sees some things that he needs in a team, and he's going to go get them, and he's going to move stuff around to get that. I don't know if that really makes sense, but
it does.
Where I'm coming from.
A public criticism, a public doubt that I've heard is, can he look after a young list and develop, I suppose, a team without superstars? Hawthorn has some good players, but they are more a young developing list. What?
Oh man, if anyone can do it, it's him.
That's kind of what I think as well.
The way he communicates one thing, but then the little tiny mini 1%ers, not even 1%ers that he taught me, they add up and they develop. That is what he was. He was like a development coach. He came in right at the end of my career, but he developed me more in those 2 years than I kind of had been in the 10 before.
Adrian Hickmott has jumped
Hick
over with Hawthorn as well.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, love Hick, man. He's the hardest person that I've ever experienced, and that's why Mitch has gone and got Hick, because if he wants to develop some young players, he's got the best person that I've fucking dealt with.
Yeah.
Hick. So what do you think?
Yeah.
This is this is completely hypothetical, so hard to answer, but how do you think your career would have changed if Sam Mitchell coached you 6 years earlier? Would have it changed much, or was that more just a latter end of your career thing?
Nah, I don't reckon. I mean, it might have. I had just had a kid. I'd grown up, and I was at a stage where I wasn't in the team anyway, so I was fully buying into what Mitch had for me. So I don't know. It's a hard one to ask to answer really, but he was very, very good, Mitch.
Takes us to 2018. So you'd finished 2017 after being in and out of the team a bit, not a regular player. Was 2018 any different? Did you find a regular spot, or were you in and out 2018?
I played every game in 2018.
Yep.
I didn't play the last NAB Cup, which is NAB 3 or whatever it was, and you guys played up in June, played Freo.
Oh, so no
so
Masten, no West Coast. They lost by 100 points to that.
I wasn't in the team, and then that was when my role got changed that next week in that bye week. Simo sat me down and was like, "Do you reckon you could do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll literally do anything."
Yeah.
So there was a clear role defined. That's pretty shit role to play in terms of...
What is it?
It was the red wing. So they made this position up where basically you play on the fat side of the oval at all times. Even if you're on the ball side, you run to the other side. You literally run away from the ball. And you're basically there to help your defence. We didn't have to play an extra behind the footy because we had me on the other side that was coming over without his man and creating an extra on the ground for work rate.
What sort of strengths did that position have to?
Just needed to run, and you needed to want to do it, and because no one wants to do it, like it's a shit role. But I wasn't in the team. I was going to do whatever I needed to, and then I fell in love with it because it was like it's my job, and you wear that like a badge. Well, I did.
You were rewarded within the four walls of the footy club that year as well. Like it was recognised.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that was, Masto's out there, just leave him out there.
No, it was like the most rewarding year ever because it was like I was getting rated highly by the coaches week in, week out, and it wasn't about possessions. It was the least about possessions. It was about what I was doing for the team.
That's sort of like what Venice said a couple of weeks ago with, the games where he only had 4 possessions when he felt like he had probably the most influence on a game.
Yeah.
And everyone thinks, I didn't do anything.
So that role that Venice played was in connection with Masto. They were in sort of like this
Cahoots.
Connection role where it was like, don't go near the ball, boys. You just need to run your ass off.
It was fucking horrible, to be honest. The first few, if you were like, they try to chuck a star out there, you're not going to do it because
you can't commit to it.
And then the team, it doesn't benefit the team. So like we needed that. That's what was required. So chuck some boys out there, they're going to do it. Yeah, fucking oath, I'll do it.
Let's talk about grand finals 2015. Memories on that?
Not many memories at all, to be honest.
Did you think that you moved on from that? Did you harbour the feelings of losing the grand final, or was it nothing to you?
Not really. It wasn't nothing to me, but it happened too early it happened too early for us. Like, I mean, one of the only things I remember is being on the grand final parade and like taking a billion videos and photos and like sending it to my mum, dad, and missus and whatever, and like really enjoying the grand final parade like the day before the game. And then playing that game and the game being over like that, barely happened.
Yeah.
And just being like, oh.
In hindsight, it was like how good is this to be a grand final week?
Yeah.
Not win the grand
final. Yeah. It was polar opposites to what it felt like in 2018.
That's what it taught me. Losing 2015 taught me that making a grand final doesn't mean anything because when you lose it becomes the worst and you don't actually have any memories from the whole week. So coming into 2018, we spoke about that a lot, right?
Yeah.
As senior players, like you and I are similar age, almost the same age.
Yeah. I think all I said that whole entire week was do your job. I think I said do your job to every single person like 4,000 times and it was annoying, but it was like just do your job because it doesn't matter. Just do your job. You
had a bit of a role as well as your on-field one as a bit of a hype man within the locker room a bit, but pre-game in pre-game huddles before we ran out in the game throughout your career. Yeah. In 2018, you were a yeller and a screamer.
Oh, kind of was always
weren't doing that.
It was kind of always a yeller and a screamer. It was especially when Guinness was around. I don't know what it was. We just
Pat McGinnity.
It was like we're going out. Some games it was like I was going out to. It felt like I was going to like Northbridge, man. And I'm like
hippie club on a Tuesday.
Fire, yeah. just shit because we weren't serious. We weren't a serious group, and like when we were shit. So we were I was trying to make it as least. I was just trying to make it fun.
What sort of things are you yelling?
Oh man, just like we'd pick up on little things. We'd be taking the piss out of Gaffy for being boring, or like, but just like it just depended what it was on the day. But it was like as loud as you possibly could, and he wasn't like forced either. If he tried to, there was times where it was forced because you weren't feeling it, and they were the worst. And I didn't play well, and I don't think the team probably didn't play well. But yeah, you're just trying to build on energy.
Yeah, it was for energy. It was if Masten wasn't like that, well, it meant the quiet guys would be even more quiet, and you get too inside your head and too insular, and you can't perform. So he was the energy guy. So 2018 flag, tell me about, I don't know, what memories you have? Were you nervous morning of the game?
I was, the grand final parade this year, we didn't take our phones, and I didn't have a partner because,
Why?
I did, but Jerry McGovern was going to be sitting with me, and he decided he wasn't coming to the grand final parade.
Yes.
Which was great, which was fine. Like, I think probably fair enough. He was trying to get himself up for a game because he was sooking about how much his leg hurt or whatever it was. But then the AF. So I'm sitting on that chair by myself for ages in the sun. It wasn't warm, wasn't cold either that day. And then AFL literally forced him to come.
Yeah.
So then I had to sit there by myself for even longer. And like, no one wanted to interview me, but because they knew I was with Jeremy McGovern, I had like every media outlet ever. And they're like trying to be polite, and like while I'm waiting, they're like asking me questions, and I'm like, just don't bother, boys. Like, just let me sit here. Like, he'll be here soon. And it's kind of what happened. As soon as he got there, it was pretty fun.
So you get through that day and you get onto the bus for the grand final. We have seats that we sit on the bus, not by name tag, like you know whose seat.
Yeah.
Seat covers.
Not seat cover. No, not like your seat cover you're sitting on right now. No, you have. Everyone knows. Don't sit in Scully seats, mate. Everyone has a seat. Who used to sit next to?
Gov again. And that ride was. That was probably the nervous that I most nervous, and not because I was wanted to be nervous. It was because Jerry McGovern is like the most chill dude ever when it comes to footy. And this day he wasn't chill at all. He was like, because he was pretty bad. Like, that thing was pretty bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
And he didn't know he was going to play the game. I'm pretty sure up until like a few hours before, he was sure he wasn't going to play, and he made this call he was going to. So when he was sitting on the bus and we're on the way to the ground, he's kind of like sitting back and forth like making this like noise. And he doesn't do that. So I was like, Gov, what's going on? Like, you were stressing me out. If you're going to stress me out, I'm going to stress these people out, and it's going to stress the whole bus out, and we're cooked. And he was literally, he hadn't thought, he'd spent that whole entire week just trying to prepare his body to get up to be able to play, that he actually hadn't thought about playing at all. And it kind of all smashed him like a ton of bricks. So pretty amazing to go out there.
Did you talk him down off that ledge?
Oh, I think I abused him a little bit and like told him to stop it. But no, there was a few chat, but he was fine. And for him to come out and do what he does, it's like,
He got the best players.
it's pretty. Oh yeah, he was
crazy.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
But that's Gov.
Any memories from the actual game? I've got one towards the end, but any in the game? Do you remember things like that? How'd you feel? 5 goals down.
Pretty fine actually. Hey, like that was. We did a lot of like mindfulness and stuff, and I know like it sounds like everyone says that wins a flag. They talk about this in the last few years, but we really did, and it was like it definitely helped because, and maybe the fact that we just said that do your job 400 billion times that week. It was like it didn't matter what the scoreboard kind of was. It didn't feel like we're out of that game or 5 goals down. It was just it just felt like it's going to come. Just keep doing your job, and then it did. And then I missed a goal late in the game.
Good.
Which is good. I took a contested mark. Should talk about that first. I took a contested mark. It was the first contested mark I've taken
in your career.
My career.
You're a good spoiler throughout your career.
Oh, I really practiced quite heavily in my spoiling, and you know that.
Midfielders don't notoriously have much respect from me in general, but especially the defensive skills of the game. Manning your player up being one. Spoiling being another. You know, everyone can go and get the footy and kick the ball, handball. Yeah, good on you. You do that. Auskick do that. Yep. Can you beat your man 1-on-1? And if you couldn't as a midfielder, you're about a 3 out of 10 in my respect levels. Masten was right up there with 8 or a 9 as a midfielder because he could spoil. He was the best spoiler as a midfielder we ever had.
Had to practice it though. Like I'd spend time at training. It was only the last couple of my years.
I think you had, Brad Shepherd went down in the qualifying final and you went back. They put Masto into the back line. So there you go. He was respected within the club.
That was the first, just so you know, that was the first minute of any moment in my whole footballing career that I played in the back line was in a qualifying or whatever that final
down
was.
Down by 3 goals.
Semi-final, whatever.
You would have been a headless chook.
No, I was fucking all over it.
All right, so you get a mark. We've been peppering the scoreboard. We're within a goal. You get a mark with, it's probably 5 or 6 minutes left in the last quarter of a grand final.
Yeah.
You're 35, man on the mark's 35 out. You're on a slight angle. You're a good set shot at goal. What are you thinking?
Well, I didn't know what to think because first of all, Bunga come up to me straight away and he told me, kick the ball straight through the goal. I was like, yeah, thanks. All right. Thanks, Bunga. And then if you ever watch the footage, I actually laugh because TB comes up to me and TB's good. Tommy Brass, a very good mate of mine as well. And he says something to me. I can't remember what it was, but
wasn't it something like, "What's the fucking worst thing that happened?"
No, he's like, whatever. I'm just like, what? It said something like that. I was just fucking nothing really. Bunga just mumbled, whatever Bunga did, but it made me piss what TB said, and it was so simple. And then I laugh in this. Like I've only ever watched a little bit, but I see myself laugh, and I must look like a complete dick to everyone else. Like, why is this guy laughing and then misses the goal? I wasn't laughing because I was arrogant or anything. It was just something that TB said that was quite funny.
It might be a stupid question. Did you realise how big a moment that is?
Oh yeah, clearly you do. You know how big a moment it is, but it's also like not really because you're still just kicking a ball. Like I realised how big a moment it was, but I wasn't nervous. Nah.
I don't buy the it's just any other game, like all of that stuff. Well, it's just any other kick.
Yeah, but you still got to kick a ball.
It's hard for me to question this, but so he's got the ball in front of goal in a grand final that they're.
What was the score at the time?
We're within a goal, so it's to hit the lead in a grand final. We haven't been in front of most, if not.
And you're just thinking, I've done this 1,000 times.
I wasn't thinking that, but I wasn't thinking, this is the grand final, I've got to kick this either. I wasn't kind of really thinking anything.
We've talked about the grand final a fair bit. You like to bring it up.
You make me. You're like, hey, make sure you talk about winning that grand final, man. You can't not speak about it.
One thing we haven't really talked about is that kick-in, the Collingwood kick-in that, they tried to blame on the runner. What do you guys remember about that moment when they kicked in from after you kicked the point? Was that? I can't remember who kicked the point.
I'll let Mass do it, but someone asked me a question today. What were you thinking when Sheeta was going for the goal? To win the game, effectively. And I kind of try to think as players, you're not really thinking anything. Masto's right. You actually are in the moment and you're trying to play your role. So when Masto was lining up for goal, I'm hoping he kicks that goal, as a backman, but I'm set up as if he's going to miss. I'm making sure everyone's set up, so when he does miss, we're just going to get it back and pepper it back in there, which we did in that last quarter. That's what you're thinking about. You're not actually...
You don't... Yeah.
So, when the Collingwood runner got in the way and he marked it, pretty much all you think is, good, another opportunity to kick a goal. There's no emotion. There's really no emotion.
What happened? What's the run?
I actually don't think...
You don't know what happened.
Well, I can't remember there's something to happen with the runner.
So they were bringing the ball out of the back line. Runner got in the way of one of the Collingwood players and they bumped into each other and Yowie...
Our runner?
No, Collingwood runner.
And after the game, he was crying and
yeah. I thought he gave a free kick away for this cry, but I got you now. Yeah.
But watching back, a lot of people try to blame him, but it was a horrible kick. He shanked the kick. It wasn't like a...
Mate, if Yowie get hit by a truck and he would still probably mark that, it wouldn't have mattered. Yeah,
so, you miss your goal. Sheeta kicks his goal. You're the bloke with the ball in his hands.
I finished with the ball when the sign goes, which is pretty dope. So my immediate thing was to get to the Bulls because I thought I was a Bull, which is the Bulls. I'm sure you've spoken about it every single podcast. The backman, I thought it was a Bull, and specifically probably yourself and Gov. And so I've got up, seen Dom, and Dom's one of my best mates as well. So see Dom, and I kind of brushed him off almost. I could give him a quick, and he just kicked goal, wins the game. I've given him a brief hug. Throwing him around, kind of pushed him aside, and I've just started running. And I kind of get halfway across this 20-meter gap, And Elliot Yo, which is like probably the last person I wanted. Like, I'm taking the piss.
We love Yo.
We love Yo, but I don't want to hug him right then in that moment. I want to get to the Bulls. But I got this little gap and I get like spin tackled like by Yoey. And all I remember is just like, I didn't even reckon I did anything. And there's a one photo of me literally like pushing Yoey out of the way, like not giving him anything, just trying to push off him to get to the backs, which I think is fucking hilarious because you don't know what you're thinking in that moment either. You're just like, you just raw. So you're just going for it. But yes,
I reflect on that moment as like the most ecstatic of it, like high level excitement you could ever have, like beyond excitement. Whatever that feeling is, like euphoria.
Yeah, I've got that a lot. I'm pretty excited at most of the time. So that was, it was way up there.
All right. So I've got a few sort of reflective questions on your whole career. What makes a good team? And that's broad, but you've played in losing teams, winning teams, successful teams, teams that have been around the mark, teams that have had amazing players. What, if you want to give one reason, what makes a good team?
I think probably the boys that want to do it for each other rather than boys that are going to do their job for the dude next to them, not for themselves.
Great answer. Transitioning out of the footy club, finished up in 2019. If you want to talk about it, we can, but you know that probably didn't end the way you would have loved it to have ended, but it.
Yeah, it didn't at the time, but in hindsight, it's like probably one of the best things that's happened. Like obviously COVID happened, you had to go to.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done well then in any hub ever in my life. So in hindsight, it sucked, but it was, and I didn't want it to end that way. But these things happen. It's probably a huge positive.
How's the change from being in a structured environment like a footy club for 15 years, in a work environment, but as well as people around you, your friends, your family, relationships, and then you pretty much sacked effectively, retired, sacked. I did the same, retired, sacked, and it changes within a day. Like, how's that transition been for you?
Mine was good. Like I'd kind of, it's all about what I had to do and what I wanted to do afterwards, and I'd sort of half knew and half said it, well, more than half, but I'd sort of set that up for myself to be able to step into that, and it's in something that I love to do, which is wine. So that aspect of not having a job and having to do something then was pretty easy. It's the rest of the shit. It's like being told, so basically run out and you're your own boss, you run your own day in what I'm doing at the moment. And from the moment that I was 17 to 31, I had every single day of the year pretty much planned out for you.
Yeah.
So that's one negative thing because you kind of a little bit lost, but also you realise that's some skills that you get from playing footy, life skills that normal punters don't have, like rocking up on fucking time and being able to have give and receive negative feedback, which is a huge one. People can't do that at all.
I know.
So there's some cool things you get from it as well. There's some bad things, but there's also some really cool things.
What was one of the more practical things that you had to do in your life, like post footy, that you're like, oh, this is hard because it was done for you in the past?
I think just time management, really. Hey, like emailing and time management. Like emails suck. Like I'm ADD, as we talked about. So that
like day structure.
Yeah, day structure.
You don't get a timetable.
Yeah,
I don't know. You might laugh at that, but like, footy was our life, but it was our workplace. So like we would have a time schedule,
for like every day of
7:05.
Well. Yeah,
but be here at 7:05, and at 7:12. Well, you got to be taped, and at 7:17.
Yeah.
So like it might seem funny, but when you do that for 15 years, like, and you come out and it's like, you can do whatever the fuck you want. You actually can just live. You can just
like, whoa.
Yeah, it's like, I need a diary badly, a journal.
Yeah.
Cool, mate. What are you doing now? What you said you sort of knew what you were going to do. What are you doing now?
Well, kind of, yeah. I was always going to do something in the wine industry. So you yourself and me have definitely dabbled in some stuff there with Heroes and Comrades, but also I'm work for Off the Vine. Scotty Spalding's, he's played one game for Carlton. I'm sure he'll tell you. I'm sure he has. Well, I know he has told you about his one game for Carlton. His brother actually played 210
And a premiership.
and won a flag. So he's the shit brother. But he's got a very good business that we do.
You work in wine.
Yeah.
You're venue manager around Perth. Yeah, I feel like you're kind of born to do it, maybe. I don't know. You seem like you love it.
I do love it, man. Yeah, it's a bit of fun.
Heroes and Comrades, which is Chris and I's little wine and events business, we pretty much started that because it was like, we're not going to get to hang out with each other after footy as much as we have playing footy. So we need a business.
To schedule it in for you.
Pretty much. So we can drink, piss, talk shit and have fun. So that's pretty much where we got to.
Pretty clever.
Anything else you got for Masto before we get to the most important segment of the show, mate?
Let's get into it.
Social media is here, Masto. Now, I know you've been a very, very, very long time fan and a very long time friend of the family at BackChat.
Yeah,
and this isn't your first rodeo with social media. I'm sure you remember your last time, and this probably won't be your last. Are you excited?
Yeah.
Well, it's here. Social media. We've changed things up a little bit. Dan reads the questions because sometimes the questions come to me. So it was a bit awkward me asking a question of myself. So Dan's a very good reader. So here we go. Social media, Chris Masten edition. Tom's Big Safari. I like that. You could do with some underscores, but Tom's Big Safari.
When are you fellas going to get back to dropping off decent wine at my door? It was the best wine situation in Perth.
Yeah, COVID.
Yeah.
COVID was a beautiful time.
We started doing this in COVID last year with Heroes and Comrades. We pretty much started up Jimmy Brings and we're dropping off wine.
We literally did, man.
I.
We actually were Jimmy Brings, but we were way better and had heaps more fun doing it.
People have said that I look like the...
Yeah. You actually do.
Oh, my... Are you? We've got Sammy, our graphics designer, in the house today. Do you reckon that's right, Sammy? Do you reckon you could just do a little sketch of Dan's face and you could pop it on the Jimmy Brings little logo?
Big request.
Sammy does.
Thanks, Sammy.
That's good. Yeah, I don't know if I should have been, but when we were in a hub and we got shut down for West Coast, because Masto, of course, had finished. While we were shut down for 8 weeks, the whole league shut down, we got kicked out of the club. I was driving around delivering wines.
Yep.
We started a business. It was great.
It was good fun.
Really good fun too. Stefan_1039.
Is it true you have a tattoo on your ass that says Beyonce ain't got shit on this?
It's not the only tattoo I have on my ass, but yeah, that's one of them.
What's another tattoo you have on your ass?
We're talking about Rod Moore before. That's a classic. So Rod, super smart, original doctor at West Coast. I really liked him. He really liked me. And he used to tell me these words, and I had to go figure out what the meanings were and come back the next day and tell him. But I always forgot what the words were. So this one day he asked me to go figure out what campanology meant. So I did. Campanology is the art of bell ringing. So like Quasimodo is a campanologist. Went and told him that, and he's like, cracked the shits, and he's had a bad mood with me this day for some reason. And he said, I don't know why I tell you all these things. He was getting old. I don't know, tell you these things anyway. You never remember. And I looked him in the eye and I said, right, I'll never, ever forget that one. So I went out. It was my 21st that weekend. I did a few on my foot. I bought myself a tattoo gun as well. I should have said that. Not a good idea. Got all the boys to do some stuff on my foot, and then got one of them to tattoo on my ass campanology, the art of bell ringing, and then went in the club on Monday morning, showed Rod, and
he was a mixture between happiness and disappointment.
Yeah, he laughed, and he was like, mate, like, come on. I was like, I told you, Rod. Thinking I'm the biggest legend ever.
I'll never forget.
Told you.
Matt Cutback _
Scully and Masto, tell us about a time you got in trouble at West Coast for being late, saying the wrong thing, going out when you weren't supposed to, etc., etc. Obviously, this question doesn't apply to Dan, who's never been in trouble, which is true.
What can we tell?
Both of us at the same time.
Was there anything we did? We got in trouble. Yeah, like we've both sat in Izzy's office before for getting in trouble. I would say one about you that I reckon you could tell, which was not filling out your whereabouts.
Yeah, that was a shit show. That was
you don't need to tell about who got angry and
no. I won't tell that because it's an absolute joke. But it was the first year. Yeah, the first year you had to fill out a whereabouts form in your off season.
So for ASADA testing,
yep.
Because we were a part of the World Anti-Doping Association, WADA, they needed to know where you were at all times because you could be tested 365 days a year.
Yep.
So when we went on off season, the club wouldn't know where we were. So this first year, they made us fill out almost an Excel spreadsheet where you're going to be every day.
And it
And
was
now there's now an app, and
Yeah.
if you change, you just get on the app.
But it was like we had a meeting about this a month before finals. Like you play your first game, we got knocked out the first week of finals. You're not thinking about like the last
Your
thing I'm
whereabouts.
thinking about is your whereabouts. So I took my missus to Bali, and I got back and had to go in and got a.
It was the day of the best and fairest, wasn't
Well, it
it?
was the biggest spray that almost was laughing at because it was so ridiculous. But anyway,
We've probably had a couple. I got told by someone to maybe
to leave me. Yeah, I was going to say that too.
maybe leave Masto out. I went to America, and I got told by someone maybe just to leave Masto out at sea.
Yeah, take him on a boat far at sea, deep sea fishing, just leave him out there.
That's quite funny. Jakey, yeah, rough. Jakey _91_.
Masto, was there any build up to the Subin Langdon incidents on field, and have you reconciled with?
Langdon?
What's Langdon? What did you do to Langdon?
Yeah, what did you do to Langdon?
Didn't do anything to Langdon.
Langdon. I'm trying to think.
Ed?
Ed or Tom? No.
No, Subin, nah.
Talk to me about Nick Subin.
Subin's got that head that you don't like. And he, you know what I mean when I say he's got that head?
Yeah.
And he tackled me late. He tackled me and then like pushed my head into the ground. No, that's right. He swung his arm around.
And he drove you into the ground.
You
weren't happy with it.
It was all happening in one big go. There was no backstory to it. And if you asked our jaw expert that came to the tribunal with me, I've got very stiff. I've got 2 weeks.
You got a jaw Masto
had the
got
world's
reported
best-
for biting
Yep.
Nick Subin, and they challenged it, and they had the world expert in
Jaw
mechanism.
To determine whether or not you clenched down or not.
I had no choice. I did clench down, but I had no
automatic.
choice.
It
It was
was
automatic. Yeah.
Right.
There you go. Mate, we just refer to the experts here on BackChat, mate.
You should have said you feathered him. That's how you got off.
Feathered Clayton Oliver, mate. You
that
should
was
have
a
said my
joke, yeah.
teeth just feathered him. Why is there teeth marks in his neck? It's like, I don't know. It's feathered. He got a mold of my teeth.
Manifested those teeth marks.
Lisa Ray XOX.
What do you miss about footy, and what is the best thing about life away from it?
I miss the boys the most. My boys the most. And then what was the last bit? Best thing.
Best thing about life away from footy.
Not having to play footy and not having to do pretty much. Yeah. Not having to worry about pre-seasons. Pre-seasons are the worst.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's happened just about now. 2K time
Yeah.
trial. Even though you were the best at them.
It doesn't matter. It just sucks. We
spoke to Venners a couple of weeks ago about this. Doesn't matter if you're the best, which is you were, or the worst. You're still working as hard.
Yeah, it's the worst. You just you're in pain, and it's the pressure to like.
You used to be a mess around 2K time trial.
And I'm there's the only time I'd ever got nervous in when it come to football really was the 2K time trial.
Because you were the best, and everyone used to be like, "Geez, I wonder what time Master's
Pressure, so much, so much pressure, and it's all on you. You like it's individual. It's why individual sport sucks because you're only got yourself to rely on. You can't
should have had
your boys.
I should have had you on the Peter Bowl.
Yeah,
episode.
man, I love Peter Bowl.
Peter Bowl. Last one. This is former teammate, former Fremantle Docker, Jarvis Pinner. That's who that is.
What's the story behind the unicorn pool photo, which a lot of people thought was a swan?
You thought
swamp.
it was a swan. He thought it was a swan.
No, it was
I didn't think
clearly.
you were in a swamp.
I thought you said swamp. No, it's clearly a unicorn.
Yeah.
No, that was that was the Not Melbourne Cup party.
Yeah.
So we went on a horse and we went on a swan. We were on a unicorn, which is very similar to a horse.
And we just thought, look, a funny photo shoot would be jump in
It was a pool
suits.
party.
It's a pool party. Jump in suits, pump up the white unicorn with the rainbow flavoured
In the
pool. Yeah, in the pool.
You pumped it up while you're in the pool.
No, we didn't. We had it
pumped up
Yeah, it was
pretty
pumped
sure.
up before. So yeah, that was it. That's it. Heroes and comrades. That's how we did events, but we don't do that anymore. We just do different stuff. That's about it, mate.
Great.
How do you feel about that?
That was good.
Any other final thoughts?
No.
You had fun?
No, thanks for coming.
The wines were
Thanks
good.
for coming. Thanks for having me.
Wines were good.
sorry for-
Appreciated. That's
Sorry
good.
for smashing it.
Yeah, that's a
I
good.
don't need that. I
We
don't
love
know why I
that.
picked it up.
That's fine. You can find us on socials. You know the deal. BackChat _podcast on Instagram. BackChat _pod on Twitter. Reddit. r// one of those. Forward. Okay.
TikTok.
BackChat podcast. We got TikTok,
You got
Mast.
TikTok.
BackChat
YouTube?
_podcast. We got YouTube, baby.
You're on all
Are
the
you-
formats.
Are you subscribed on YouTube?
I haven't.
It is
subscribed to
compulsory.
anyone on YouTube.
It is. Well, this
the
will be
first
the
one.
first. And it is compulsory
Oh,
for
actually,
all
kids,
guests.
ABC Kids, is that
Yep.
on YouTube?
We're
Yep.
not We're not on ABC Kids.
If
You're not on
only-
ABC Kids.
if the
You
only-
should be.
If the only 2 subscriptions you have is BackChat Podcast and ABC Kids, I'll be a happy man.
Bluey, heaps of Bluey.
Yeah.
Google or just search for BackChat.
I think you guys
Podcast
should be on
YouTube.
ABC Kids as well. Can you make that happen?
ABC Kids. ABC Kids. All right, and you can email us hello@backchatpodcast.com.au. This has been fun, Master.
Cheers. Thanks, Sammy. Jimmy Brings.